Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. Talk very briefly about the author, go into a spoiler-free overview of the plot, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I'll be reading for next time. Celeste Ng this is I believe her second book. She also released a book called Everything I Never Told You. She is probably still best known for this book, which was made into a Hulu series that was very popular. But what it's about, it's a little bit of a complex plot, but it is about an artist and her daughter who come to Shaker Heights, Ohio, which is kind of one of the original planned communities. And while there, she and her daughter ingratiate themselves into the lives of her landlord, or their landlord as it were. And there's kind of conflict between the two families as they get kind of closer and closer. They basically serve, each of the parents in their own way serves as surrogate parents for daughters from the other family. The second family is called the Richardsons, and the father is an attorney. The mother's kind of a reporter, and they have 4 children and who are all in high school, and it's really kind of about how the two families have conflict with each other over, I think it takes place over about a year. But I think that's the limit to what I can tell you as far as spoilers go, as far as the Greater Shaker Heights. According to the back cover, it's a plot point that's important. The patriarch Richardson, Mr. Richardson, is involved as a lawyer with a custody case that involves a baby that is his wife's friend, Mrs. Richardson's closest friend, is part of a white couple that's adopted this Asian baby after the woman, who is an immigrant from Asia, I believe she's Chinese, she's a Chinese immigrant, gives up the baby and then wants the baby back. And they have a long kind of court case, and there's that kind of happening in the background while all this kind of drama is happening with the two families. So what's I like about this book, I thought that there's some kind of deft writing in there. There's one part where Celeste is talking about, in the court case, there's kind of what are signs of kind of abuse with this child, and in kind of parentheses you have kind of the mother's response to why these things appeared and why it may have appeared that she was an unfit mother, but she also had these other things that were going on in her life. And I think that part of it, as far as the looking at the class differences between the haves and the have-nots in this case, where Mia, who is the artist's mother, is close to this woman who is an immigrant woman who doesn't really have any connections in Shaker Heights, except one of her only connections. But Mia's kind of a struggling artist. She doesn't have a lot of money. She's moved to Shaker Heights and has become friends with this woman. And the novel, I think, touches on class in certain areas, and I think that was like a pretty nice piece of deft writing. So I like that part of it. It's a pretty propulsive book. There's kind of an opening chapter that I kind of bounced off of, and it took me a couple times to read it to really get into the swing of things, but eventually I did, and I think after that part, it's pretty propulsive to the end. As far as the stuff that I didn't like, it was very, very melodramatic, and the book that reminded me of the most that I read recently was Ask Again Yes, which the melodramatic stuff in that book bothered me. This kind of takes it to a different level, and it felt very soap opera-y, where everyone has kind of secrets and there's backstory and there's all this stuff. And I wish there was kind of like plot after plot, subplot after subplot after subplot. Part of me wishes it was kind of pared down a little bit. I think she does a good job of kind of weaving them together, but it felt like just so much happening, and it was kind of overwhelming. And I think that for the characters, even though some of them are in high school, they have like no emotional intelligence whatsoever. As someone who has low emotional intelligence, I was looking at it going, even I had more emotional intelligence than that in high school, and then all of them, they feel that way. And it's kind of like, well, clearly someone on the outside looking in would be like, well, clearly this person's going to be upset when you do this thing, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of rhyme or reason to it. I think the reason I kind of bounced off the book, I didn't like it as much as Ask Again Yes, which is, again, the book that I kind of compared to that I read most recently. I I didn't like any of the characters. I liked Mr. Richardson was the only character who had kind of moral qualms in what he was doing, and everybody else just seemed to have this like righteous fury. And there's a mother and daughter who are kind of almost, I think they're supposed to be twin characters, but both of them believe that they're completely right. And I just found both of them kind of be insufferable. I didn't like Mia's daughter, Pearl. I didn't really like any of the Richardson sons. So I didn't really find any of the characters to root for. I mean, I didn't think they were like despicable, evil people, but I didn't really find myself kind of rooting for them in any way, shape, or form. And like I said before, there's an opening chapter where like a climactic thing happens, and then the book kind of flashes back. That opening chapter didn't really work for me as well as I think it was supposed to. So those are my issues with it. I think there are a lot of people who will like this a lot because there's a lot of inner family drama, and if you're someone who likes family drama, I think you could do worse. It's pretty quick. I mean, I read the large print, and I read it pretty quickly. But it did feel to me worse than a lot of the other stuff. I felt kind of slight, and I didn't find myself rooting for any of the characters. And I think that the author kind of clearly has a political position that I think she tries to mask a little bit by using really extreme examples of things, but I still think she has one. The court case, if you read the court case, to me there's kind of a very clear thing that the state would do in this situation. I think she tries to show empathy to people, but I think it comes off as kind of almost straw man arguments for certain things. So that's Little Fires Everywhere. If you like family dramas, or if you liked Ask Again, yes, I imagine a lot of people will also like this. I found it a little bit not as great, but if you like that, anything that's really a family drama set in like contemporary America, you probably would like this. I didn't think it was particularly deep. I think that it could have probably gone deeper on some of the class divide stuff than it really does. I think that there's like a setup with the character Mia and kind of her secret, and she's kind of carrying the secret around. And I think when we kind of get into her backstory, the book, which was propulsive up to that point, other than maybe the first chapter, hits a wall. For me, at least, it was just like, oh, I got to get over this whole thing. And to me, the payoff wasn't particularly strong for all that. So I think that could have maybe been pared back. It explains the psychology of the character a little bit more, but it felt like it was a long run for a short slide. So that's Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. And next time I will be staying in Ohio with Sport of Kings by C.E. Morgan. So until next time, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until next time, bye.